Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to teach you how to use the software or the application Microsoft ToDo. This is a productivity app, something you might call a productivity app. Basically the idea is that it helps you to keep track of the daily tasks that you have to do, things that you have to do by a specific time, categorizing your all sorts of different features that you have to do. If you want to share specific tasks with somebody else at work, maybe you want to have a list where you keep track of tasks you have to do by a certain date, all sorts of planned events, things that you may have to do daily, just plain out tasks that you have to take care of. All that sort of stuff is what this application is going to help you to achieve. Now, a little bit of history and background. As I've told you, this is a productivity app. I'm going to explain to you why people may use this app, may prefer this app over other apps, and generally what's the appeal of it. So, as many of the apps that you've seen in the market, the main appeal of this app is that it has a sync feature. And by a sync feature, what we basically mean is whatever you do on this app, whatever change you make, whatever task you add, is going to be uploaded to a cloud server, a server on the internet. And then if you have this application on, let's say, your PC, and if you have the application on your iPad and your tablet, the application is going to refresh the new content on all the other platforms. So for example, if I add a task on my PC about how I need to buy a new charger for my iPad, for example, that task is going to be uploaded to the Microsoft servers, and then if I check my iPad or my phone, I will get that task. So whatever you add, whatever change you may add on one device is going to be updated on all the devices. This is the main appeal of such softwares like this. To give you a little bit of a background, maybe some of you are using this app before it got updated to Microsoft ToDo. I'm just going to give you like a brief history lesson on where this app was and where it sat with everything that went on. So this app used to be called Wunderlist. That's spelled with U, W-U-N-D-E-R, Wunderlist. Somehow popular before. The features were somehow limited. As I'm going to explain it to you during this course, you're going to find out that this version comes way more prepared with much more interesting and appealing features, so to speak. And you're going to find out that if this software is for you, hopefully if you have any questions, the guide will help you to resolve those and there won't be a problem anymore. I will point out that if you've been using Wunderlist and you still have not updated to this app, it's probably a good idea, a good time, good opportunity to just go back and import that account. I'm not going to explain how that works because quite frankly that app is outdated, but I'm pretty sure if you still have the app, there is a tutorial by Microsoft where you basically have to, I think, sign up using the email that you had your previous account for, and then you can import it into this account. All of your data from the Wunderlist will be carried over here so you can continue on with no problem. So with that in mind, if you have ever used the app Wunderlist, it is a good idea for you to just go in there and get yourself up to speed with the Microsoft ToDo app, because they're basically the same app with more features as I explained before, and you want to do that as quickly as possible because there may be a time where that import for whatever reason won't be possible anymore. So best to just carry over all the progress or all the tasks that you may have had on that software. With that in mind, let's dive in deep to what we have here on Microsoft ToDo. So first things first, let's start simple and basic with how to use this application for its main and primary purpose, which is adding and subtracting tasks. What do we mean when we say tasks? Well, the clue is in the title, right? Tasks are things that you need to do, you need to get done, you need to take care of. It could be daily, monthly, annually, whatever it is. So as you can see, we have a couple of default lists and we also have a couple of new lists. So I'm just gonna break those down for you. Most of these lists that you see on the upper end are what we call smart lists. What do we mean by that? I'm gonna explain it in a sec. Just have in mind that we have smart list and just lists. I'm gonna start with my day to give you an idea of like how does this feature work. Then I'm gonna explain subtasks as well. So as you can see, when we click on my day, we have this little note here that says focus on your day. Get things done with my day, a list that refreshes every day. Basically what that means is whatever task that we put on here, whatever task that goes here, it's going to get refreshed every day. So let's say, for example, you want to run for 10 minutes every day. If you add it in the My Day section, then if I do the running for 10 minutes today, then when I wake up tomorrow, the task is going to refresh itself. I don't have to go in there and enter run for 10 minutes every single day manually. If I use the smart list, it's going to refresh it daily, automatically. When the day ends, I'm going to get it again for the next day. So it's good for tasks that you want to do them every day, and you don't want to go like, I don't want an app where I have to manually enter it every single day. If you enter it in the My Day list, it's just going to automatically take care of that. It's going to refresh it every day. So that's the main basic gist of it. Now let's explain the basic ideas around tasks in this list. So first things first, how do we tick this task off? Well, do you see this little circle right here? When the task is done, that's how it works. And you get that little ding, right? That voice can be a little bit addictive. It will get you addicted to like getting things done. It's actually kind of satisfying to hear that. So have that in mind. So very, very basic. You put up a task. When you complete it, that's it. That's done. Now let's explore some of the options within the task itself. Once you click or once you tap on this, if you're using an Android phone or a tablet, you will get these details right here about the task itself. Now, the most important part is under the big task title, you've got this little small bit here called Add Step. What does Add Step do? So basically, Add Step allows you to break down one single task to multiple steps underneath it. Let's say maybe the task that you have is a little bit more complicated. It's not just one action, okay? Let's say when you run for 10 minutes every day, it includes a couple of subtasks. So let's add those. Let's say what they are, for example. Well, wear sport shoes, right? So that's one task. What about after that? Let's say you have breakfast. Okay. Let's say maybe you don't run on your own. Maybe you have a partner or somebody that comes with you to keep you motivated. So let's say John. Okay, so meet, or maybe you pick him up. So like using a car, or maybe you go to their door or whatever like that. Pick up John. Okay, so you get the idea, and then until the final step. Now, what happens is, so I didn't enter that one. So what happens is you will see that if I close this, it says task 0 out of 3, right? So let's say I have wear sport shoes, but I haven't had breakfast yet. So I tick that one. As you can see, it says 1 from 3. All 3 from 3 ticked, and then you will tick off the main task. So one of the main features is that you can have subtasks that make up for the main task. So that is the main feature. Have that in mind. Next one, we don't really need this. This is because we've added it to this smart list. It says added to main. Now, next feature, remind me. Maybe it's a task that you're afraid to forget. So you use the remind me feature. When do I remind you? You will set a time. Later today, maybe if it's the same day, right? You can adjust that. Maybe it's tomorrow, next week, or you will pick a date and time. 21st, you can also set the time as well, right? This is the hour, this is the minute, AM, PM, save. So you get to remind me. If you add that feature by mistake, you can always click on this little cross sign here. That feature is removed. Now, we have add due date as well. What's the difference between add due date and remind me? Well, the difference is when you use remind me, you want to get reminded of a task, but you don't necessarily have a deadline in order to do that task. So let's say you need to send in a homework by next week. Okay? So you add the due date next week. So let's say the coming next week, right? I will add, say, due date next week. So first things first, notice how due date didn't have an hour or more details like it didn't have a minute, but remind me does. But let's say I have to deliver this homework by next week, for example. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and make a new task for that. So let's say deliver homework. Okay? So I'm going to add due date, as we said, next week, right? But I'm going to set a reminder for tomorrow because I need to start working on this task so I can finish it by next week. So that's the difference between reminder and due date. The feature anyway. Remind reminds you that, hey, you got to do this thing. Whereas due date lets you know that this has to be finished by that specific time. Basically, due date is the deadline. Reminder is letting you know before the due date to watch out for it. Next feature that we have is repeat. So you have a task, you want to put it on repeat. Now, as I mentioned before, when you're using this smart list of my day, repeat is automatically set to daily. But maybe you have a task that you want to, break it up a little bit. So maybe you don't want it daily. Maybe you want it in a weekday. Right? Perfectly reasonable. Maybe you want it repeat monthly. Now, the important thing is when you put something on monthly, I'm going to remove these so you guys know how that works. So, when you put something on monthly, it's going to remind you of that every month instead of every day. If you use yearly again, and so on and so on. You also got this little see you see the refresh button. That's a sign of that feature. So far we're doing good. We've explained due date, repeat, so on. We also have a feature called add file. So this works very similar to email attachments. So maybe you want to include a file or a picture or a program or whatever it is, right? You put add file. So you can add a file here if you want to. That's not really an issue. You can also add a note. So by a note, we basically mean that maybe you want to point to something or give an instruction, maybe tell somebody to do something. If there's an issue, reminder, whatever. So I'm just going to say like, remember the topic has to be relevant to the class or whatever it is you want to write, right? So after I type that in, as you can see, I get the little note sign right there. Okay, so that tells you that I've attached a note. So guys, this is the basics of the actual tasks being set up. Okay, this is the basics of when you click on the task. This is the explanation of everything you're going to get. Now, with that in mind, we have a couple of other things that is worth knowing for you. First one being that we have this little thing called suggestion here. You don't really need to mind that. Just move along it. Then we have this little 3 red dot thing, which tells you about the options that you have regarding the list. So we have a couple of options regarding this bit. So the first one is you can choose the theme. What do you mean by choosing the theme? You see this little picture right here? You can change that, right? So you can change that to anything you like. I can change it to colors, gray, green, whatever it is you want to, okay? Doesn't really matter. Up to you. Then we have print list. Now, this feature can be helpful in 2 areas. First one is, of course, obviously, if you have a printer attached and you want the task list to be printed out, if you want it on paper for any reasons, maybe you want it on work, whatever, you can go ahead and do that. Or you can use the Microsoft built-in feature, which is Microsoft Print to PDF. Basically, you will get a PDF version of the tasks that we just set up. Maybe that's a good thing to you. Maybe you want to have that archived, or for whatever reason. Like, honestly, it's not that vital to know for me what it is, but like, I'm sure some people may use this feature. I don't see a lot of the other productivity apps having this. I could be wrong, but if you want to have your tasks printed out on paper, fine, great. You could use this feature. By all means, go ahead. You also have the usual settings, portrait, landscape. So this is also an important feature one. So print all task steps. You can turn that on or off, right? You can also have task notes. So these tasks that we picked, we also have more settings. So again, you can choose and eventually that is the print setting. So if you want to have a PDF version of your list, you could go ahead and use the print feature. We also have another feature called email list. Now, when you email the list, what you're doing is you're directly sending this list as an email to whatever individual you may wish to send them to. So let me just click on that. I'm going to be using the default app. I'm just going to put it here so you guys can see it. So as you can see, the title is automatically set. Of course, you can change that. That's not something that's set in stone. I could say my tasks for today. Okay, then if you want, you can add like a text to it. If you, hey Jim, these are the tasks we discussed for work today. Okay, whatever you like. And then blah blah blah, you could, here's the thing, you can sign it, whatever. So you can directly send your tasks as an email. I would recommend using the built-in email app for Windows as well if you want to do that. Pretty quick, built into it, nice as hell. And finally, last option on this list, we have, you see this little thing that is unpin from start, or if I click on it, it'll become pin from start. So what does that do? What this feature does is it basically allows you to have access to this list directly from your start menu. So when you pin it to start, this list, not the other list, My Day, specifically is going to show up on your start menu. So that's that. We're going to move on to the other lists. We've pretty much covered everything here. So just to give you a recap, what we said was the My Day Smart List is tasks that are going to be refreshed every day. Before we move on, I'm also going to explain to you one more feature, and that's the start feature. So what is the start feature? As you can see, I've got this little task here. Right on the other side, I have this little star. Okay, so what happens if I go ahead and click that as important? Well, as you can see, you see this little list right here, the next one that we're going to go over. When I point out that when I click on the star, it shows up on this one as well, right? You get it? So let's add an extra task, say call Janet. I'm not gonna start this one, right? So doesn't show up there. These are for my other tasks, okay? But if I remove the start here, run for 10 minutes now. So across all of the tasks that I'm going to teach you, and if you think one of them is particularly important than the other ones, what you can do is in all of the items you can just click the little star and it will go to your important list. And then what you can do with your important list is, again, you can pin it to start, so you can directly access it from your start menu. What else do we have in this one, in this smart list? Let's go through them. Well, in this list, as with all of the other lists, you can sort the tasks by different metrics. So you can sort them by due date. Which one comes first? You can sort them by alphabetical order. You can sort them by creation date. What was the date that you made that task? And you can finally add it to my day in case you're interested to do that. What other options do we have in this smart list? Well, we have hide completed tasks. So how does this work? So if I take this task off, as you can see, it'll vanish, right? Well, if you go in the option and you click on show completed task, it'll also show you the tasks you've completed with crossed over, so you know that you've completed that. The benefit of this feature is that it may give you a sense of accomplishment as towards what things you have done and what things you haven't done. Also, you can remove the sorting feature, and then when you do that, automatically the completed tasks will go beneath the active task. Okay, so that's that. What else do we have in options? We have print list, email list, pin to start, etc. And then we have hide smart list. So guys, I have mentioned smart list a couple of times so far, so let's dive in deep to just to explain to you what exactly smart list is. So in Microsoft ToDo, we basically have two types of lists. What are lists? Lists are these distinctions that we have so far. So this is one list, my day is one list, important is one list, planned is one list, etc. Now, what is the difference between a smart list and a normal list? Well, in a smart list, you have features that are built in. So what is an example? For example, the fact that if I add start and I immediately get it in this list makes important a smart list. If I do some sort of planning, like a due date, so let's try that, add due date. If I go to tasks, so tasks isn't a smart list. If you go to tasks and you say like visit mom and dad, for example, and if I give it a due date, see, it immediately shows up on my planned list. So again, planned is a smart list. So in important, you have the option to hide smart list. What does that do? It removes the important list. If you're not a fan of it, if you don't want it on your space work, if you think it makes it too crowded, it removes it. How can you bring it back? So what you do is you click on this, you go on settings, you move all the way down. Here is the list of all the smart lists that you have. If you want to bring important back, you click on. When you go back, voila, it's back, right? So that list is back where it belonged. Apart from this, we really don't have anything special here, same as all the other ones. Let's go to planned. So planned, if you have a task and if you add a due date, it'll automatically show up on planned, or you could add a task due today. And when you add a task due today, the due date is automatically set for today, but you can change that. So let's try that. For example, let's say buy food. See, the due date is automatically today, but you can change that. Okay? And the good thing about the smart list is that you get these specific due dates. So you just need to have a quick look to see what's up. Do you have anything extra in options? No, not really. Just pointing out the fact that you don't have order by whatever it is on plan today, because the plan today smart list wants to keep everything orderly just by the time that they're due. So that's that. We have all. The title seems evident enough. You don't have the smart list by default on Smart ToDo. You don't have this list as default on Microsoft ToDo. What you want to do is, if you want to activate it again, you go to settings and you turn it on. Default is like this. Turn it on. Why is it off usually? Because honestly, there's no difference between this and this that much anyway. Do you have any options? Well, not here. And let's take a look at the options. Again, hide smart list, pin to start, email print list. Nothing that we haven't talked about here. Completed is, of course, this is where your completed tasks go to. So let's try that. So as you can see, it shows up here. Pay attention to the mere fact that it doesn't matter whether they're started or not. They won't show up on important. And also, you don't have a number because they're completed. So you don't keep track of that. Have that in mind. So in the final section, we have a smart list called assigned to. This is a share feature. If you remember in the intro, I told you that one of the features that people like this app for is the idea that you can share the workspace with people you know. This is specifically useful if you use this software at work. So you have tasks that you want to share with a coworker or a colleague, and you want them to be aware of the changes and the progresses and the tasks that you have are complete and stay up to date. So as you can see, I don't have anything here, and main feature is we don't have a thing like this one. Like this one. You don't have an add a task. It's similar to completed. Why is that? Because you need to share a task with somebody. We'll explain that later on. So after assigned to, we have tasks. Tasks is basically whatever you have on your Microsoft ToDo. So whatever, it could be anything you want. You can add them. They're not specifically in the smart type, so you may have to do a lot of adjustments. So let's say I add, let's say write every day. Okay, so this is not going to go immediately into any of the smart lists, but I can add them. You know, I can adjust some stuff. So I can add a due date. Let's make it a repeat. So I'm going to make it daily. Okay. Now, when you make something daily, it should show up on my day, right? It doesn't. It doesn't. So these tasks aren't necessarily going to become a part of the other ones. They're just a list of all the tasks that you have. That being said, it does show up on the smart list that is all. So have that in mind. Now, these are the lists that you have as default on Microsoft ToDo. Another feature is that you can create your own list. What's the use of this? Well, maybe you want to categorize your tasks in an order outside of what we've been discussed. So, for example, what do I mean? Work, okay? Home. And maybe underneath home, I want to write down shopping, okay? Work, research, the sale, whatever it could be. So you can make your own custom lists. That being said, they're not smart inherently, but again, you can adjust them. So let's say next week. And unlike tasks, you will see that what you're going to see is you're going to see that it shows up on planned. As you can see, shopping is here, right? So we have shopping here and we have shopping here. So it does kind of synchronize with the smart list. And again, that helps if you want to pin the smart lists to your start menu. And if you add tasks to these, it'll automatically go there. Very useful. Now, do we have anything extra here in terms of options? Well, no, you don't. Except for none of these, you can delete the list. If you want to remove them, again, as a reminder, you go here and you turn them off. So if I don't want all, I'm going to turn it off. As you can see, all here. But if you want to remove these, you have the option to delete list because they're custom lists. You can also rename list because it's a custom list, and you have the sort option back for these. Aside from these, you have this one, which is the main feature that we haven't explained so far. So this is called share list. The idea is fairly simple. You have a list that you want to share, or maybe you have a task that you want to share. Notice that this was not something that was doable in any of the smart tasks. So this is also exclusive. Well, as of now anyway, maybe they'll add that in other updates, but this is exclusive to the custom lists. So you can assign tasks, or better to say share them, or you can assign the whole list to someone. How does that work? You create an invitation link and then you send it to them. If they have Microsoft ToDo installed, process is fairly simple. If not, they install the app, they create an account, and then they'll be able to use it. So that's the share feature. And again, whatever changes you make, it's gonna be synchronized for both of you, and whoever it is you're sharing the link with. We could also have a quick look at the setting menu. Now guys, this is important. You cannot use Microsoft ToDo unless you have a Hotmail or an Outlook.com email. This is primarily because the service is a Microsoft service and they want and expect you to use their email. So if you want to use the software, you need to create either a Hotmail or a Outlook mail on their respective websites. What do we have on general? Add new tasks on top. So this is important, right? This is quite important. If I turn this off, and let's say, see, I have, oh, that's not a good example. Let's go here. So if I turn at and I add a new task, let's say like visit James. See, visit James is down there. But if I turn it on, then it'll go up. Fairly simple, but some would mind it. Move start tasks to top. Again, if we have this off, take a look how this works. It'll just stay there, okay? Like the stars will just stay there. Same as here. Let's say report to boss, for example. See, when I start, it just stays here. But if the option is on, let Jimmy know about the sales. I miss. Now, when I start this, it will remain at the top. Let's try this one. There you go. So, a small detail, but again, maybe matters to you. Completion sound is the little tick sound that you get. See, I don't get a sound, but when it's on, pay attention. There you go. If it's something that annoys you, you can turn it off. Personally, I enjoy it. Confirm before deleting. So whatever you delete, it's gonna ask you. App badge. Sounds really simple. It's gonna tell you if you need a badge on the tasks. Pin to taskbar. Obviously, if you want to have this program always used, you can pin it to the taskbar so it's always available to you. Nothing grandiose or weird about that. We have theme, the infamous dark theme, or you could synchronize it with your Windows theme. If your Windows is dark or whatever color it is, it will follow suit. We explain the smart lists. This is basically adding or removing the smart lists if you want to. Auto hide empty smart lists. Again, self-explanatory. Whatever smart list that you don't want there is going to go away. Reminders for your due dates. For when you set a reminder, it's going to tell you what to do. Help and feedback. This is the syncing option. Connect on Facebook, and this is the rest of the usual Microsoft stuff. So that is how you use Microsoft ToDo. I hope the guide is complete, and it'll be helpful to you if you want to use the software. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked the video, please make sure to click thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, check out similar videos like this if you're interested, and if you have any questions, ask them in the comments section. I will see you later. Bye bye.